Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This is the second of 4 segments in our reach out to the community in explaining the reasons taken for this decision by consensus of the members of the Fatwa Committee of the Muslim Judicial Council to suspend Jammah Salah along with Jummah over the next period coming until further notice. First and foremost, we have to take note of the fact that ground realities are changing all the time. The most recent statistics that have come to our notice in a meeting with the medical fraternity this morning made us realize that we have very little choice but to make the decision and call for that suspension. I am not in a position, I'm not going to burden you with all of these statistics. I need to give only one statistic, only one important statistic. The doctors use a criterion for measuring the speed with which this virus spreads, and that is how long does it take a country to come to 100 infections. You might think, if I have to ask you the question, which country came to 100 infections the fastest? You might be forgiven for thinking that it is Spain or China or Italy for that matter. It is none of those countries. The country that came the quickest to that figure is not South Africa for that matter either. It is Norway. But the country that took second fastest to get to that figure is our own South Africa. South Africa took 13 days to get to that figure. Norway took only 10 days to get to that figure. And if you look at the other countries that have reached that same figure, Japan took 33 days. The United States, which is one of the worst hit countries at this moment in time, took 42 days. Spain took 32 days to get there. France took 37 days. Belgium took 32 days. The UK, which is very badly, took 35 days. We are the second fastest country. When this happens, the doctors say we have a limited period to take some very, very drastic action. So that's the first of our reasons why we understand that we have to take action. We cannot ignore the facts any longer. We have to take drastic action. Our drastic action comes in the form of suspending something very close to our hearts, the Jummah and the Salatul Jama'ah. Jummah and Jama'ah most certainly are duties upon a Muslim, either Sunnah or Fard Kifaya. In the case of Jummah, Fard Ain upon a Muslim male. However, despite the status that it holds in Sharia, there are times and circumstances when our fuqaha, classical fuqaha, were prepared to suspend both Jumu'ah and the Salatul Jama'ah. Our fuqaha state that an excuse for cancelling the wujub, cancelling the obligation of Jumu'ah Jama'ah can either be am or khas. It's either a general excuse or it's a specific excuse that pertains only to a few people. General, it becomes general when it pertains to the entire society. So a general excuse such as what? Torrential rain. If there's torrential rain, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam instructed the mu'adhin to say that, ala sallu fil rihal. Do not come to the masjid, make your salah at home. The worst that a torrential rain would do, it might wash you away. It might give you a cold. It might drench you to your skin. And wind might do something similar. The harms of corona infection go much, much beyond any of those things. The fuqaha have written, Imam Nawawi rahmatullahi alayhi has written in Rawdatul Talibin, amongst the excuses for not going to the Salatul Jama'ah, if you have bread baking in the oven or food cooking on the pot and you have no one to look after it, you don't go to the Jama'ah, you look after that. If you fear for loss of limb or life or the use of a limb, do not go to the Salatul Jama'ah. At this moment, the pandemic has reached a level that everyone is exposed to it. Everyone has exposed. By simply going to the masjid, it's not just a matter of you picking up the virus yourself, it's a matter of you thereafter passing it on to 14 other people just by your interactions with them. There is no way in which you can deny the fact that what the fuqaha stated in terms of the excuses for which Jumu'ah and Jama'ah can be cancelled, a pandemic such as corona is even bil awla. It applies a fortiori with greater strength in this case. I want to state something in our history. Imam Ibn Hajar Asqalani rahmatullahi alayhi mentions in his book Badlul Ma'un fi Fadli Ta'un something that happened in the year 833 in Cairo, where there was a plague, there was an epidemic, and people decided en masse to go out of the city into the outlying desert and make dua together. Stand in front of Allah Ta'ala, make dua, all of them together for Allah Ta'ala to raise this plague, take it away. And there's no doubt that such a gathering should be meritorious. When people are making dua, asking Allah Ta'ala for a plague such as this to be removed. Ibn Hajar comments upon it and he says that before this gathering here of everyone from every part of the city came into one place, before this people were dying at the rate of 40 per day. After that people were dying at the rate of 1,000 per day. It makes us understand how very, very important it is to practice social distancing. Just as the Sahaba radiallahu anhu practiced in the 18th year after the Hijrah with Amr ibn al-As radiallahu anhu, when the plague of Amwas struck and he told everyone, disperse into the countryside, go high up into the hills, high up into the mountains, disperse, do not live together in one confined space in the towns or the villages. Disperse, social distancing by another name. And within 3 days that plague was stopped. So from history and from the manner in which our historians have recorded it and the manner in which they reacted to plagues such as this, we learn a lesson, and that is the importance of social distancing. We also wish to request very respectfully of those who might take a different approach in this regard, that they do not regard the means adopted here of cancelling jammah, cancelling the Jummah, calling for people to stand far apart in the masajid or remain at home. Please do not regard this as perversions of the Sharia, as corruptions and distortions of the Sharia. These are abnormal times, and abnormal times call for abnormal means. Please understand that your brothers who are taking these very, very difficult decisions, they come to them after a lot of heart-wrenching, soul-wrenching thinking and deliberation. It is not to distort the Sharia, it is to preserve life, which is one of the primary objectives of our Sharia.